and live your life today. It doesn't matter what they say.
Welcome to another episode of Red Lotus Life. As always, I have my beautiful co-host Sara Elizabeth here with me, and together we create this safe space where we provide tools and resources to create the life that you love. I think this week we're going to kind of change things up a little bit. We are so in love with what's happening in Say Yes to Soul that we just want to share our experience with you. So I thought I'd go ahead and just dive in. So right now we are in the area of friendships. That's what we're focused on for the month of December. We had our emotional clearing session last week. So that was really, it's always really fun. It's always fun to see, like, what are our limiting beliefs? What's preventing us from connecting and cultivating authentic friendships in our lives? So dread was the limiting belief. That was the emotional block. So we'll just I'll share a little bit more about what that means. But Sara, where are you at with things right now?
Ooh, dread. Yes, it kind of came up big time for me another container, um, where we are journeying our purpose sphere for the Venus sequence, which we are contemplating along with this clear this month in the Say Yes to Soul container. And so I sort of so synchronistically came across a really beautiful group that is journeying the Venus sequence and in an experimental way that is actually is based in relating and how do we relate. And so it was so perfect given that we are working with the area of friendships. So what happened was I was actually in this space where I realized that I was being seen, and the dread that was creating the blocks really came to the surface. And I felt like I was in this space of fear for a minute, right? And so I took that opportunity in order to do some really deep contemplation and journaling around my purpose sphere and what was coming up. And that pretty much instantly integrated all of that dread that was coming up. It was a really beautiful process.
Mhm. That's so cool. I've been listening to you share all of this with me, and it's been amazing. Um, I love this because I'll just share with everybody the emotional path of this clear so they can kind of get an idea. And then we can totally connect the dots here with what's going on with you in this space, because it has been a beautiful community for you. And the
Mhm.
gene keys are beautiful. And that Venus sequence is really all about the relating. So it's been really fun to hear everything that's been happening with you. So, okay. So friendships is the focus that we're working on in Say Yes to Soul. It is in the water element. That dread is in the water element. So we've been working with the water element, which is all about flow and creativity. Dread actually is in the kidney, and the kidney is all about feeling powerful or in your power, feeling powerlessness, helpless. It's all about instability, change, and it's also the deep unconscious. And then dread here with the spiral modality is the certainty that something bad is about to happen. So in Say Yes to Soul, we're in week 2. And this is the week where we just observe. We observe all of this, the element, the emotion, the organ that it's in. And we just observe, like, how is dread getting activated within our friendships, right? So mine was also around being seen. So it's
Of
just,
course.
I know, yeah. And it was this dread of being seen, right? Being like a spotlight in a group or something like that, and being seen. And yours is so cool to witness you, like, moving through this, because this is definitely 100% your flow. It's your creativity. I've seen you just even have, well, by you even saying that you posted in that group today and you shared, like, that was your creativity that is now
Yes.
flowing because you were
Yes.
able to write.
Yes, absolutely. This entire experience has shifted me into that gift of vitality that is relative to the purpose sphere and the gene keys, and it's just been so. Well, I'm going to say it's been beautiful to witness myself in that space and really meeting those edges around relationship. Um, these were things that I didn't realize were there. It was definitely in the deep unconscious. And so
Yeah.
now being able to be in that space of flow and moving from instability around purpose and releasing that dread, moving into a space of stability and really sovereignty
Mm-hmm.
around who I am and the work that I'm here to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like it's all about just showing up, right?
Yeah,
Just showing
all
up
the
as
way up.
ourselves
Mhm.
and owning it, owning
Yes.
ourselves and what
Mhm.
we're here to do in this world and how like oh, it's just so good. Um, so in Say Yes to Soul, we have what we call a life design plan. And the last few months we've been focused on different areas of relating. So this is really pretty much our last one. And next month where it's going to be on work and career and things like that. So there'll be a little bit of relating stuff in there. But the
Mm.
relations and the relating that's happened here as we wrap things up in the areas. So let's say, I guess I should clarify myself. So we were, what was it? Family? No, intimate and romantic relationships.
Mhm.
And then we moved into family, and
Family.
now we're into friendships. And then next month we'll be into work and career and how we relate in that way. But I just, so much is happening as I just observe. I just observe my relationships. There was something that came up for me today that I went, oh, yeah, this is so alive for me. I shared it with you. It was a quote that I saw on Instagram. Is his name Maston or Maston?
Maston.
Maston.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Mhm.
Maston Kip. I started following him when we did a free training with him. He's amazing. Everybody should go out and check him out. We'll put this in the comments, or not in the comments, but in the description so you can go and check it out. But he put out a quote today on Instagram and it says, with safe people who are emotionally intelligent, asserting yourself doesn't create conflict, it creates conversation. And I just went, oh my gosh, because this is what is so alive for me as I'm in this week of observing. I'm noticing where, like, I think there's nothing wrong with asserting yourself. When you're
Mhm.
asserting yourself, it's because you know who you are. You're asserting boundaries or desires or whatever that is. You're just being assertive in that way, right? And if you are I love this part where he says, with safe people who are emotionally intelligent, asserting yourself doesn't create conflict, it creates that conversation. So I think it does create conflict at times, right? Obviously, it's okay to have differences of opinions, um,
Mhm.
just different beliefs and things like that. But when you are a safe person with emotional intelligence, it creates this opportunity for conversation that now, like that strengthens, it's an opportunity to strengthen that relationship.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I would love to relate this again back to my experience, if you don't mind, really quickly,
Yeah.
working with the gene keys, because when we do assert ourselves and then are received from a place of conflict, that actually creates dissatisfaction, which pushes us to evolve. And so when we're able to show up in a way that we're relating with others from a place of emotional intelligence, that truly is what we're doing. We are
Yes.
evolving. It's an opportunity to evolve.
And it's also an opportunity for soul growth too, because even though you
Exactly.
may have a difference of opinion, I
Mhm.
mean, there's a chat. Like I learn things whenever somebody says, maybe, if I say something and somebody comes, says, well, I don't believe the same. And I go, oh, cool, let's talk about it. Because I want to hear do they believe in? Why do they have their opinion? And there's times that that has actually shifted in me, and my soul has grown because I was ignorant to something that I didn't know before. And so, yeah, it's just crazy. There's a few relationships in my life right now that this is what's happening, and I'm always like, oh my gosh, like you're upset. Let's have a conversation. Like always, let's have a conversation. But what I've noticed with what he says here, and he's talking about, he was bringing in the emotional intelligence into our relationships, right? Is that if the person that you're relating with doesn't have that emotional intelligence to even recognize a safe space or to be a safe space themselves, that relationship dissolves quickly and usually in a hurtful way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what I've learned as I've been observing this week is just taking a look now at the quality of my relationships, you know, and going, are we in the same resonance field? It just goes so deep, actually, for me over here.
Yeah, it does go deep. And, you know, this is the place where we have to take a step back and really take inventory of where others' energy feels supportive.
Yeah.
Is it supportive of the direction that we'd like to go, supportive of our goals, supportive of our purpose, supportive of the relationship, period?
Yeah. And I think, you know, a lot of what we talk about here on Red Lotus Life is about releasing conditioning around abusive relationships and, you know, just anything like that, the conditioning there. And so when I take a look at that and I look at the quality of relationships, and what you just barely said is like, do these relationships support us where we want to go, or are we in these relationships just because we are? And so it's really even taking inventory of that right there. And is this relationship supporting us in creating a life that we love?
Mm.
And not saying that, you know, just like what I said, conflict is not necessarily, I invite conflict because this is how I grow. So I do invite that. I invite the difficult conversations. But sometimes people just don't want to have that. And so now taking inventory of like, okay, so where do I really want to go with my life? Where do I want to be? And do these relationships support that? It's just awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I love every single day that we get to do this work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what do you want to share real quick about what's happening with the members? I mean, it's always quiet in the chat. We have a chat, a private chat where we all integrate. We talk about the things that are happening. Like we celebrate the aha moments and all kinds of, and the shifts. But this first week, it's always usually pretty quiet because everyone's just observing.
Yeah, I love when everyone's in that space, because that means that all of our stuff is coming up to the surface and it's being processed and integrated so that now we can create the shifts. And um, I feel like what we're seeing the most as we have been journeying with the relationships, and especially after we created that bridge with the open heart, is that it's rippling out into our families and into our relationships, our friendships. We're starting to see people celebrating what truly matters in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been beautiful to see that and see how they're relating with their loved ones, especially their friends. There's been like homemade gifts and things like that. And so instead of actually going out and buying something, and it does have to do with that open heart, clear that we did. Now they're wanting to create, here we go again with the water element, the creativity. They're wanting to create from their heart space and give gifts in that way. And I think, oh gosh, that's so amazing. Yeah. And I think it's really cool too, as we end up wrapping up, you know, the relating here in the next couple of months. It's interesting to see how much communication comes into play here. And I think this is why I say I invite the hard conversations, because most of the time there's all these unspoken boundaries and unspoken rules and unspoken desires, right? And so if we're not assertive in that way of communicating that, then how can anyone that we relate with even know how to relate with us?
Exactly. And even further is what's underneath the hesitation to be assertive and actually share what's coming up for you, what's alive for you. Are we so much in fear that there's going to be some conflict or some reaction that we don't want to feel, that we are so unable to actually have a conversation?
Well,
Like
this is
I
the
feel like
dread.
I feel like there are so many times when people they really desire to come to a resolution, but because they're so afraid of stepping into that place of feeling vulnerable, that the relationships just dissolve when it could have been so easily fixed,
Yeah. And this,
repaired.
yeah, this actually, so this is the dread. This is the dread with being seen
Mm-hmm.
and being seen for who we are, right? And that you're right, exactly. Like this being afraid to be seen, being afraid to even communicate that, to show up in that way because of the conflict of rejection or the uncertainty that something bad is about to happen.
Right, right.
Right.
So let's avoid that at all costs. Let's not assert ourselves.
I know. And then the relationship dissolves and usually in a hurtful way.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's just it's amazing. I love the work that we're doing here in Say Yes to Soul. It's just um I love that we do this our own work with this group and we get to just see what unfolds every single month by the end of the month.
Oh, yeah. We get to roll around in the mud right there with you. And it really does create a sense of camaraderie and sisterhood. Right now, we have all women in the container, but that could change at any point.
Mhm.
But also, it creates a sense of safety.
Mhm. It is, and it's this community. And, even being here in December and our focus being on friendships, we are creating authentic connections. We are
Mhm.
creating these friendships with the members of Say Yes to Soul. And it's just so good.
Yeah, it's our little soul fractal family, and
Hmm.
I love to see it grow.
Hmm. Especially in a time where everyone is seeking connection. So we invite you to join us. Was there anything else that you wanted to share?
Yes, I would love to share that we actually are currently offering 25% off the first month of the Say Yes to Soul membership. And we would love, love, love for you to join us. If you feel curious, please reach out and ask questions. If you have any questions,
Mhm. Yep, just drop them in the comments below or reach out to us and send us an email. The contact information will be in the description as well. So yeah, just so much gratitude for all of you for joining us for another episode of Red Lotus Life. We would absolutely love for you to join us and strengthen these connections and friendships, have high quality friendships in your life. Um, Oh, and then like, share, and subscribe with anybody that you feel like. I mean, I feel like I always have these friends that talk to me about their friendships, and I'm like, that's not a good friend, and this is why. So if there's anyone that you can think of that could use this conversation, feel free to share with them. We would absolutely love it. It's why we do what we do here on YouTube. Mhm. Okay, bye.
bye.
And live your life today.